You're listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to moving to another country, brought to you by SDC International Shipping, LA's finest. An international move is exciting. It's a time to start over, establish a new business maybe, reestablish family ties, or retire where your budget will do more for you. Please enjoy today's episode, and if you have any questions about your international move, give us a call at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Jim for SDC International Shipping. You're listening to the International Moving Podcast. Hopefully, at this point, your go-to source or one of your top go-to sources for tips and insights around the topic of moving abroad. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about moving to Spain. This is one of the topics I've talked about several times, and I believe one of our very first episodes was about this topic, about this country and relocating there. And when you think about it, well, at least when I think about it, I thought that by this time maybe the migration, I guess you could call it, to countries like Spain and Portugal might subside a little bit. And the reason why I was thinking that was because of maybe overcrowding in certain areas. Maybe overcrowding isn't a good way to put it. I mean, Spain is a huge country. If you see it on the map and you compare it to, let's say, its neighbor Portugal, Spain, of course, has a much larger landmass. I think every once in a while, if you don't just check out what's happening on the maps, sometimes I wonder how accurate the maps are. I know they say that the United States is actually smaller than it's depicted on the average map, and Africa is actually larger. I don't know. I'm just going by what they tell me. But one of the things that has me thinking this way is the fact that when an area becomes popular in our time today, modern time that is, it seems that people move there en masse so quickly that the infrastructure begins to struggle to support the fast growing population. Meaning things like sewerage and water and the electricity, the electrical grid, all of those things begin to buckle under the strain of the increased demand, and then everything has to be built out from there. And this happened in two places that I've personally lived here in the United States, and I heard that it was happening there. And what happens is the people who are already there, a lot of times they don't look favorably upon people who are migrating into their area, whether we're talking about here in the United States or another country. And so what happens is the cost of living goes up, rents, real estate, property ownership, all of the prices of everything begins to increase when the number of people coming in increases because taxes have to increase to build out all of the infrastructure to support the people. And we just see this repeat itself over and over and over again throughout time. So I thought by now that Spain would have been one of those countries that was experiencing that type of situation, but actually they're not. No, people are still drawn there because of the lower cost of living. It's still much lower when compared to places like California. If you're living in, let's say, San Francisco, Los Angeles, or you're on the East Coast in New York, or you're up in Chicago, I mean, the cost of living there compared to a country like Spain, and then when you couple in things like the beautiful weather and all of that, then you can see why the popularity has endured, because Spain has a lot to offer, including easy access to other European countries. But moving your entire household overseas is a big project for a lot of people. I think just thinking about it is enough to cause some people to not take that extra step for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's financial. But let's talk a little bit about making the process as smooth as possible. So naturally, I want to talk about SDC International Shipping, because when we're talking about moving to Spain, SDC International Shipping moves people from the United States to Spain on a regular basis. So when you look at the country, overall and compare it with the United States, it does have a lower cost of living, making it attractive if you're a retiree or maybe a remote worker or even just a family looking for a change. It has a very rich culture. It's known for its excellent cuisine, a variety of different landscapes that are there for people. It has a little bit of everything for everyone, including a high quality of life. Plus, living in Spain, again, you have that easy access to the rest of Europe. So if you want to make a weekend trip to a place like Paris or Rome or Berlin, that is a reality. Whereas living over here, maybe you make a weekend trip to, I guess it depends where you live, but you understand what I'm talking about. So when we're talking about actually going ahead and making the move, the process can be made, I guess, a lot more straightforward if you have the right preparation in place. Of course, that's easier if you've done it before because you're aware of it. But also you need the right partner. You need to be working with a type of shipping company like SDC that can make the transition part of it, the moving of your household items and goods, seamless. So when you have a company like SDC working for you, then you're focusing on other things because they're taking care of that part for you. There have been people, of course, over the years, many people who've done everything themselves. But it is, like the saying goes, a huge nut to crack because there's just so much involved with timing and logistics. And that's where having a company like SDC International Shipping can come in because they make that transition part seamless by taking all of that off of your plate and handling that for you. SDC, for example, has been moving household goods and personal effects to Spain for getting close to 20 years now. And they've been guiding clients through the entire process from start to finish. So when you're at the point where you're actually thinking about making that switch, making that change, choosing an international moving company becomes an important component in the overall process because you want somebody that has expertise and experience. So there are a lot of complexities that go into international shipping, and it's great if you have a dedicated support team in place. What SDC does is they'll provide a comprehensive support system for you from the booking and delivery, and then they will stay in communication with you, advise on necessary paperwork, and ensure that customs in Spain is navigated smoothly. And it's like everything else. If you have people who do the same process over and over and over again, week in and week out, then everybody gets to know one another. The people coming from the United States on the ships, the people involved, the boots on the ground, all these people see each other regularly. They know they know everyone. And so the process is much smoother because they're all part of the same machine. Whereas if you come in as an outsider trying to do it yourself, then it slows everything down because they don't know who you are. I mean, you could be anyone. I guess it's kind of like if you think about how law enforcement works, I've never been in it before, never would want to be, but I'm guessing in law enforcement, if you're actually out there on the ground, boots on the ground, as the saying goes, every day, you're not assuming that everyone is on the up and up. You probably have to assume the opposite of that, if for no other reason, just to keep yourself safe, right? You have to be aware of all the time, and you're aware of what elements you see normally in certain places and what other elements may be out of place. It's the same thing in every industry, in every area, and it's no different in the international moving space. Whereas if you have companies that deal with customs in places like Spain and Portugal and the UK, Australia, wherever we happen to be talking about, over in Asia, you see the same people coming and going all the time. It makes the whole process a lot easier, right? So that makes sense. I'm just using some illustrations there just to point it out. But, okay, let's move back to the beginning. So let's say you have a visa and you have a work permit, a work visa, or maybe a student visa or a combination of these things. Maybe you're going to be moving for professional reasons to a country like Spain, or there's different reasons why people relocate today. One of the most popular ones is just to have a better life, to get more value based on what you earn than you're currently getting in your current location. Better quality of life is huge. And so let's say you are going over to you're making the plans, you're going to relocate to Spain. One of the most important things in the moving process is that whatever company that you're going to use, you need to make sure they actually have eyes on the actual items that are being moved. So a visual survey is very, very important, along with the questions and answers that go with that type of meeting. It's a crucial step because the moving company needs to understand your needs, the volume of your shipment, and that will lead to an accurate quote. SDC offers both virtual and in-person surveys to ensure they understand exactly what it is that they're moving. So one of the things you need to be aware of is that when you're considering a shipping company, you have to be aware of the fact that there are brokers out there today who are posing as actual movers. And brokers may subcontract your entire move to a third-party company, often leading to higher costs, potential issues and problems. So you want to ensure that you're working with a genuine international moving company like SDC. You have to watch out next for low-ball quotes, because a very low quote may seem attractive initially, but it could also lead to unexpected costs down the line. And this is why SDC aims to provide clear, professional quotation based on a thorough, eyes-on visual understanding of what it is that you're moving and of any particular needs you may have. So be cautious of companies also that demand an upfront deposit. SDC does not require upfront deposits on 99% of their jobs, ensuring that you're not going to be caught by any kind of red flag. These are things that a lot of people don't think of because their mind is on other things as they're going through the process. In that respect, it can kind of be like buying a car. If you're not a mechanic and you don't know what you're looking for, you can go online and you can find mechanics telling you about things to look for when buying a used car. Just the other day, I was talking to somebody about buying a used car, and Carfax, I think it is, that has a record of what the car went through. I was talking about that with a mechanic, and the mechanic told me a lot of cars have been in accidents and it doesn't show on the Carfax because the people don't want to report it to their insurance so that they don't have their insurance increased. They fix it, in other words, off the books. And that's the same thing that can happen with, it's the same principle in place when it comes to an international move. So just as a car is a major purchase and there's things that you need to be aware of before making that purchase, it's the same thing when we're talking about investing in moving your household goods to another country with an international moving company. You do not want to be in a situation where you're talking with a broker, just someone who's a middleman who's going to subcontract your move to third-party companies. And what those individuals need, of course, usually is an upfront payment down. And if you look online for information about them, you're going to see that there's probably going to be poor online reviews in places, especially like Yelp and Google. And so you're going to be able to use those two as potential sources to gauge the reputation of the company you're considering. And finally, you have to ensure that the company provides a comprehensive professional proposal, because this is the document that should outline the service that's being quoted and should have everything basically itemized there, including or excluding certain elements. So SDC, for example, provides a detailed proposals to ensure complete transparency. And this makes everyone happy. It's just one of the corners that brokers will be cutting because they don't actually have the manpower. It's basically one person kind of going back and forth and doing the job of two or three people. And not that you can't have a decent experience with a broker, just like it's possible to buy a decent used car. It's just that when given the option, you want to be buying from a reputable company. You want to be doing business with a reputable company because this is your household items and good. This is your time of making an international move, and the last thing that you want is the stress of items being lost, or a quarter of your boxes containing broken goods because they weren't handled properly, they weren't labeled properly, and all of that. So SDC International Shipping will take the time to understand whatever your needs are and to reduce or eliminate any surprise charges. Things can come up because sometimes things do fall through the cracks, but it rarely happens when you're dealing with a good company. Of course, you're dealing with people, so that's why I do say that. But SDC starts out again with a visual survey, so this will help to understand your needs, your inventory, and make sure that everyone is on the same page. Next, you have the quotation, because after the survey, you want to have a clear quote providing all of the details of included and even excluded elements. Maybe certain items in your house are going into storage, or maybe you're giving them away, so they're not going to be part of the move. Next comes the order for service. Once the quote is accepted, an order for service initiates the process. And then from there, we move on to the support and logistics team. An internal support expert is assigned to you to guide you through the entire process, which leads to the day of packing and pickup. SDC has a professional team that will be there to pack and wrap and protect your household goods. Next comes the shipping. Your goods are shipped via ocean or air freight, depending on your needs, or a combination of both. From there, everything goes through customs, so SDC will handle all the customs paperwork, making the process a fairly simple formality. And next comes then the delivery. SDC will deliver your goods to your new residence, reassemble the furniture, and remove all of the packing materials afterward. So that is an basically eight-step process that you'll go through. And, there are also, SDC Logistics and Support Team will handle all of the documents necessary to ship your household goods to clear customs in the U.S. and in Spain. But it's important to know what you can and cannot ship. So certain items are restricted and prohibited from being shipped to Spain. Let me just talk about those quickly, the documents and what you can't ship. So for example, you can't ship any kind of food or plant products, certain medications, firearms, narcotics. So SDC will provide a specific, the information that you need regarding the restricted and prohibited items to ensure compliance with Spanish regulations. Next, when it comes to the options of packing and protecting your household goods, there's a standard service, which includes the wrapping, the protecting of all of your furniture items. There is special enhanced protection for delicate items, such as glass, marble tops, statues, china cabinets, things like that. 3, the packing of the boxes. Options include full professional packing or self-packing if you want to do it yourself, certain items, or a hybrid approach. Maybe there's one or two things that you want to wrap, that's fine too. Framed art, if you have it, SDC can provide everything from the standard wrapping to the custom hard crates for your fine art. And then finally, there's white glove service. If you want everything done for you, people that need the full packing and unpacking services and everything put in place and where it belongs before they leave, that is also available too. Next, there are specialty items, billiard tables, pianos, fine art. SDC already has the expertise and equipment to handle those items with care. Maybe you're thinking about shipping a vehicle, car, motorcycle. Those can also be part of your household goods shipment. They can go inside of a container along with your household goods, along with the necessary documentation to ensure that everything there is in place. Pet relocations. Of course, if you have a pet, there might be certain pets that are prohibited in Spain. I don't remember specifically, but certain breeds may be. And so that's something that you do need to be aware of. But plans can be made to make your pet relocation as comfortable as possible. And that way you can import your pet into the country of Spain and have all the health certificates and vaccination records and all of those things up to date. There's maritime insurance. SDC offers total loss and full coverage insurance options. I know insurance can be a little bit confusing to people because it's so wide and varied with all of the different options. But to make it simple, for the sake of just this conversation today, you can insure for total loss, meaning that if the whole shipment sinks, then, which rarely ever happens, right? But everything would be covered. You can insure specific items only within there. In other words, you're not locked into buying more than you need to buy or more than you can afford. So certain items may be important, other items may not be. And so you can discuss those various insurance options. Finally, healthcare. Whether you're moving to Spain or anywhere else in Europe, at the time of this recording, most people have or secure international health insurance. And that ensures their healthcare needs, whether they're going to be in Spain for a few years, a few months, or traveling between other European countries. They purchase an independent international health plan to cover them and to cover their family no matter where they go. That's taken care of before they leave, of course, so they have all of those documents in place. And that will allow you to get a certain type of care. Maybe you have guaranteed that you'll be speaking with English-speaking doctors and nurses, for example, with certain types of plans, whereas with other types, you just get whatever's available there in that country. It's much like the insurances anywhere else. It's kind of like you kind of get what you pay for. But in conclusion, let me just say that, yeah, I'm a little surprised that people are still moving into Spain, not because it's not a beautiful country, but just because, a lot of people are going there and it's not quite as cheap as it used to be. But relatively speaking, it is compared to what we're facing today in a lot of parts of the United States. So I think moving to Spain would be an exciting adventure, personally. I don't speak Spanish, but if I did, I think that'd be one of the top places I'd be looking for in a relocation, a country where it's beautiful and they spoke my language. It happens to be the English language, so I guess that kind of limits me a little bit if I were making an international move. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this information. I hope it helps you. Eventually, if you listen enough, this information will become second nature to you. So when it is time to make an international move, you'll already know a lot of things that most people won't. So if you enjoyed this podcast, as always, please go ahead, share it with a friend. Share it on Facebook or wherever you are on social media. Email the link to a friend, and that will help us connect with more people. So thank you for listening, and this is Jim for SDC International Shipping. I will see you next Monday in next Monday's episode.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening. Whether you're relocating within the country or moving to the other side of the world, we're here to help from start to finish. Connect with us today at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962.